Hi, Dr. Pulsfer here to talk about a very important aspect of game design when you interact with other people. You must be able to explain why your game is designed as it is. Why? Well, this is especially important if you're trying to get a job as a game designer. But it's also important in explaining a game to a potential publisher. It's probably not important for Kickstarter, given how that works, because people support Kickstarters not on the basis of the game, since they can't really have the game, but more on the basis of the product, appearance, and other things. If you can't explain why an element is in the game, why something works the way it does, think about it. Shouldn't you take that element out or change how the game works? Now, this could be called an engineering point of view, but that's how most employers and publishers are going to think about game designs. They want to know why each thing is the way it is. They want you to be able to explain why it is. They can't take on trust that your game is wonderful and they'll see that sooner or later. It's just not practical. Unless they use some other method. For example, some studios use the metric Cloud Cuckoo Land method. I call it Cloud Cuckoo Land. They rely on metrics to determine how they put together their games. In the extreme, a few of these studios decide they don't want any game designers at all. Now, metrics are good. They're a playtesting guide, just like all other playtesting guides, but they should not determine how the design works or how the game is designed. With the metric method, what you get is a soulless pandering to the micro-majorities. It's as though you playtested a game and did whatever the playtester suggested. This is no better and no smarter than those who throw things against the wall in a game, throw things into the game to see if they stick. With against the wall, you're inefficient at best, and at worst, you're going back to pandering to the particular majority that you're playing with. Now, if you're getting hired, if you apply to work in a video game studio as a game designer, first of all, of course, you have to be able to show that you have completed games. If you haven't completed games, they probably don't even want to talk to you. But you also have to be able to explain why those games are the way they are, because game design is about critical thinking more than anything else. They don't want to hire you just because you have ideas. Everybody has ideas. All the programmers have ideas. The employers want to know that you're always thinking about design and about why you do what you do. They don't want to hire someone who cannot explain why. And that's especially true if you're working with a team of programmers and artists and so on. You have to get their respect. You have to be able to explain why the game is the way it is, not just, oh, it seems good to me, or I think it's that way, or it ought to be that way. You've got to be able to explain it. Otherwise, they might not buy in on it, and if they don't buy in on it, how well are they going to make that game? Now, some designers depend heavily on their gut feelings, and maybe this works well for some, but not for most. It certainly doesn't work well for me. Unfortunately, also, gut feelings are hard to explain. So if that's how you work, the problem is you might get poor results from working with employers, publishers, programmers, and so on. Why should they trust your gut feelings after all? Now, if you're an established game designer, then they have a reason to trust your gut feelings. But this, like most of my videos, is aimed at people who are just starting out for the most part. Now, most every game involves both intellectual and emotional decisions. But most studios and most publishers can't rely on the inexplicable. It's not good business. Thanks for listening.